again, everybody. Welcome to another weekly podcast here at Sandian. And today we're going to be talking about a little bit of an overwhelming topic, retirement. So today we have here retirement expert Liz Ulloa and Daniel Ulloa, and of course, managing director here at Sandian. I know this guy pretty well. This is for Dennis. How you doing?
Pretty good. Guys, welcome to the show. Daniel, this is your first time here, so welcome to the show. We want to talk a little bit about your background and how you got here, and maybe introduce you to the audience since they've never seen you in the podcast. So a little bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Of course, and thank you, Sandian, for having me here today. I appreciate the invitation, and it's an honor to be here with you guys. So, absolutely, I'm originally from Bolivia. Lived there until I was about 15 years old, and then the family and I, we moved out to St. Louis, Missouri. So, lived out there in St. Louis, Missouri for about 8 years before escaping the cold weather, since in Santa Cruz, Bolivia, where I'm from, it's humid and hot. And
warm and going to cold winter in St. Louis,
right.
Missouri's Anheuser-Busch town.
That's right. And I remember my first winter there. We had one day woke up and it was -4 degrees with the windshield, and
Wow.
I'm like, I can't live here for the rest of my life.
That's why you came to Dallas, right?
That's exactly right.
Well,
So-
here you don't get winter, you get hail.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
All the
That's
above,
true.
except for
All
winter.
of the above, except for winter, right? Like I said, a little overwhelming topic for those who have not planned yet about that topic. And so why is retirement important?
So let me ask you though, have you thought about retirement at your age?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
I think too is, we've been preconditioned, like a lot of millennials, they're not really thinking about long-term goals, right? So retirement is one of those things where we have to think more longer term. And I think for our show, we get people who are across the whole spectrum. We get people who are older, some that are younger. So it's definitely a good topic for us to cover. Retirement is one of those things that you always want to start thinking about.
Well, and the crazy thing is, I think the facade is that you don't need to think about it. It's going to already be in place, or it's just something that's going to happen. But
It's kind of going to take care of itself, right?
kind of, you
Right.
just
Right.
close your eyes and just hope that it's going to
Right.
just magically appear. However, that's not really the case.
Myth.
That's a myth, right?
It really is, right? And I think that, you look at really the landscape that we are on, the economy, right? And there's, I think, a lot of factors that go into the topic of retirement. So you got to look at how the economy is doing, how we're doing financially, what companies are doing. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. And retirement actually is just, in my opinion, just like a lot of other things that we look at. It typically takes somebody that is more knowledgeable of a lot of these topics, keeping up with it, in order to guide you in the right direction.
So it's not, to me, it's something that you have to plan on. It's something that you defer for a period of time, right? So I'm not sure how others are thinking about retirement, but definitely for me, it's more of planning and defer, right?
Right.
When I get older, hopefully I'll have some funds saved up to be able to use.
Well, and the
The golden
mentality too,
age.
though, is that you don't need as much when you retire, but then you don't also incorporate all the other factors that you do need when you do retire. So when you think of retirement, people think, oh, I'm older, I don't have to work, and my house is paid off, and that's it. But
Right.
it's really hard to transition from your prior life to your new life, from working to not working. The means, still go out the door.
Right.
Don't grow
The
from
bills
trees.
always come. You always got to pay the bills. They don't
Regardless.
stop. The bill, regardless of your age, the bills are always going to be the same. Your rent's always going to be the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as the youngest person here in this panel, when is the right time? Is there a right time to start thinking about retirement? Are you ever too early to think about retirement, or are you ever too late to
Think about. Yeah, that's a good
retirement?
question.
That's especially, for like you're saying, that broad audience that obviously listens to your podcast and everything else. I think that it goes really along with what we're talking about, planning.
Planning.
Most people don't. One of my favorite phrases is, most people don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan.
Right.
And
We have that saying here too as
Yeah.
well, for clients.
absolutely, and that's what it comes back to. So I don't think that there is a young age that you're like, oh, I'm just starting, I shouldn't be thinking about this, but rather is more of a building a plan with whatever age you're at, whether it is that you're just starting or whether you're a successful business owner that is in their 60s and now looking into what is retirement going to look like. And one of the biggest things that I think is a misconception in the retirement world out there is that everybody should follow the same cookie cutter solution.
Right. And I think everyone's different, right?
Absolutely.
Some people may have or require different lifestyle when they're older, so it requires different set of plans.
Absolutely. And it's not just the same retirement when you're older, but you look at, what your goals are, because you may want to retire at age 50.
Well, the millennials, they want that instant gratification,
That's
right?
right.
So they want things quicker, sooner, and much better and more efficient. And so he's absolutely right. Someone like you could definitely want to retire a lot sooner and not work as hard and as long like you saw your parents or your grandparents work. So
Is
it
there
does change.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
That's
you
okay.
off. Is there such a thing like retiring at 50?
There is. There is.
I'm sure there's people that retire
Absolutely.
at different ages,
I mean, but what exactly we're talking about retirement? Like retirement, you're gonna sit at your house and collecting checks, or just gonna get another?
I think
type
a combina-
of job?
I think it's a combination.
That's actually a great question,
yeah,
though.
it's a combination.
Actually, when I talk to clients, my easiest definition of retirement that I tell them that this is what you should be looking forward to is the day when you wake up and you have the option to either go to work or not go to work.
But some people, even though they have financial freedom, don't necessarily think about retirement. I'm sure people who are wealthy have some sort of guidance, whether
Yep.
it's a mentor, an advisor, or a counselor that guides them through that process. They have some of that. But I think in terms of retirement, I think we're looking at more of the day where you're not working, right? So
Correct.
the way I see it, and maybe for you is like this, is when we're not working anymore, but we need some sort of funds to keep us going, whether it's to pay rent, to pay cars, to pay food, that kind of stuff is what I'm thinking.
And I love what you're saying because, it kind of ties a little bit together because I think that that financial freedom and whenever that day arrives is whenever you can actually comfortably retire.
Right.
Because if you wake up and you still have to go to work, then retirement is not going to happen.
Right.
So, although a lot of people are going to look at financial freedom as when I can go to work or whether I can just have enough funds to not go to work. But, that moment of retirement realize is really not going to happen until you have that ability to either go to work or not go to work. And whether that happens to somebody whenever they are, 50, 65, 70, which 65 is really the average retirement age that we're looking at, we're kind of trying to guide them in that direction. Now, one thing that a lot of people I think get confused is that having that financial freedom is going to be whenever you just have all kinds of money and you can just go buy
Right.
whatever you want.
Yeah, because
Right.
when I think of financial freedom, I think of the lottery. If you
Right,
win
someone wins the
so to
lottery.
me, that's not retirement, right? Because you don't have a plan, you don't have anything set up. Again, there's a possibility that you have to go back to work. With
Right.
retirement, if you have it set up, you have that plan, then at that point it's a choice whether you want to get up or you want to work or not.
Right. A lot of people come into inheritance, maybe wealthy family members, and they get an inheritance, and they didn't have a plan. So now they have to think about, retirement and planning and these kinds of things. So, yeah, winning the lottery or inheritance would be something like that.
But there are more secure ways for that, which is what's going to lead us to the next point, and that's where we need you guys to enlighten us into the nitty gritty. how has retirement changed? How can you get to that point? How can you get to the point on where, okay, you don't have to work anymore. That's it. That's it.
Right.
You know, before I go into that, what do you need to do and all the stuff? I think that there's a subject actually that I'm very passionate about, and is how has retirement changed? Because you're exactly right. I mean,
Yeah.
20 years ago, things were different. And for those of you guys that are listening, if you think back 20 years ago, you may have had a job 20, 30 years ago where you had a pension.
Right.
And today, though, how many of you guys that are listening have a pension?
True. Taking it away.
It's actually 99% of employers don't offer a pension anymore.
And you know what? We're in a field. IT is employees or consultants are moving from job to job more quicker than before. Before, the norm was you stay with GE or Procter and Gamble 20, 30 years and you retire with them.
Right.
Now the whole area has changed, right? People are switching jobs every 3-4 years. So they're not necessarily thinking about retiring with one company per se.
Yeah, because the experience is huge, in
Right.
this world especially too. You want to gain more experience than you do longevity
Right.
as before. So
Like me, for example, I'm young. I'm 100 miles per hour right now. I'm working. I'm doing everything that I can to build my future. Let's say a person that is a little worse. Let's say have kids, have a lot of things on their plate, and how can that person think about retirement? I mean, I'm trying to make ends meet right here. I got a kid that I got to support.
Single dad, single mom, something
Single
like that.
mom, single dad, things here and there. Hey, man, don't talk to me about retirement. So how can a person find leverage in a situation like that?
It all comes down to planning and choices.
Right.
So, it's really, you think about choices, right? And unfortunately, at times, I like to say I'm the bearer of bad news to some people.
Right.
Because whenever you look at, do you want to retire? Yes. Okay, but we have to make some tough choices, right? Like how many people, if you just pull up your credit card statement and look at all your expenditures there, how much of that can you reallocate towards, hey, I want to make sure that whenever I get to my ideal age that I can retire, I'm going to then today not do those things in order for those things to happen. Does it mean maybe going to a couple less happy hours?
Right.
Yeah,
At 30.
Yeah. That I heard that if you save $200 every month for 30 years, you become a millionaire. So that's something
Absolutely.
kind of for retirement, right? $200 is something you can put away every month. In 30 years, you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah, and again, it just all becomes the choices.
Right.
And a lot of times and I think that as going back to the question, how has retirement changed? I think that we've been conditioned almost throughout the whole history of one, having that pension that we were going to retire with, and then number two, Social Security. And
We were relying on Social Security, and now that has changed.
Well, when you pay into it, you expect it, right?
Right.
so, you think about Social Security today, that was also something that was part of retirement and is actually the main source of retirement for many people today. Now you get your Social Security statement, you see by 2033, there's not going to be enough funds to support it. Well, 2033 is not that far away.
No,
I've seen
it
a lot
really
of people
isn't.
like that.
Really, and something that is interesting is that Social Security, whenever it was actually implemented in the United States, it was implemented back whenever average life expectancy was 65.
Now that has changed. Technology has improved. People are
Right.
living
Yeah.
longer.
So people are living 22 years longer
It's
than
more
before,
than I expected.
which is the reason why you have such deficit that by then we're going to run out of money on that program. What has happened is that we had a transition from pension plans to what we like to call your traditional ways now of saving.
Which
A lot of people-
are what? What kind of savings?
Yeah,
is
so
it?
so you probably, if you're listening, or you guys here as well, probably maybe have had a 401k at one point in your life, a 403b, a 457. You probably heard of IRAs, Roth IRAs. Those are your traditional ways, to start out there
Investing and planning.
Exactly, but the fundamental change on that was that companies stop offering pensions to then start offering 401ks. And what most people do not take care of is that now the choices are back on you, because as a pension, the company was taking care of making
Putting
sure
in the
that
money, that making sure that
Exactly.
the funds were there for the employee to have a pension
Correct.
plan. And like some, what was that guy Madoff? You know, he took a lot of money from those pension plans from those universities.
yeah,
So probably helps now to have the 401k back on someone's own planning schedule. You know, you can plan to put funds into those kinds of things.
absolutely. And and that's an easy way to start. But a lot of times, what happens is that one, we don't make the choice to start doing something with what our retirement that is offered through our job, and then number two, we also don't take it into our own hands. We just put money there and never really look at it, and we run the ups and downs of the market and different things that could happen out there.
Now, do you guys sit and do sessions with people to help them plan? You know, if you're starting at 30 and you want to get here to 65, here are your goals, here are your set limits that you need to invest on.
Again, it all goes back to planning, and you hear planning, 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 and it's because
We can never be too prepared.
exactly.
Never.
And I couldn't tell you what's good for you until I actually sit down and actually learn about you.
And have a conversation.
Yeah, I need to learn first what your goals
Right.
are, where you are, and not only is it learning today, but I think that somebody that is really in the financial planning world, to do our best job, we need to also continue to learn about you through the rest of your life.
It's our goal really to make sure that we are on this journey with you and making sure we find the best solutions. And then when life happens, then we could come up with another solution.
You're
and just
ready
making
for
sure
it.
you're on the same. Yeah.
Do you guys have any insight on Roth accounts, life insurance, permanent life insurance, things of that nature by any chance?
Yeah, absolutely, because I think that whenever you put together a plan, you need to have everything covered, right?
A comprehensive
Exactly.
plan. It has to be comprehensive.
Exactly. So I think that whenever you think about the end result, right? Because we're always all looking at the end result.
Looking at the
But-
horizon.
Exactly.
Right.
But no houses are built on sand. Why? Because you need a foundation.
Do you need a foundation?
How often do you guys, on a regular basis, how often do you meet with your clients? Do you meet once a quarter or once a year?
Typically twice a year, because it goes that really your thing with your financial plan should start with 1 year base, then you go into your growth phase, then you're accumulating, then you're distributing to yourself to make sure that that's your retirement. And then at the end, also the final step, which many people don't think about, is how do you pass that on to your heirs?
Before we go, any tips, advice on this matter, on this topic, on how to create and look into the future?
It's always important to just start a plan, create a plan. I mean, come up with a plan, whatever the case may be. You always have to plan for it. And then to always start as soon as you can. I mean, whether you're graduating college, even as soon as you become an adult, start thinking about it. And then finding different ways, meeting with a professional, an expert that can help you, guide you through those things.
I think that putting that plan together, whether you're 20 years old and just starting life, or whether you are close to your 60s and you're getting to that point where you're looking at retirement, if you don't do something sooner than later, you're going to be looking back at that age and saying, what am I going to do now?
I definitely agree with you. I think starting sooner rather than later for planning purposes is going to be the key to retirement.
And it's never too late.
Never too late,
Just,
yeah.
just like he was saying, it's never too late.
But
So
younger people think they're going to live forever, right?
again, stages of life, whether you're older, younger, it's just important to start. That's the big key.
It's never too late. It's never too
Early.
and you can never be too prepared.
I'm sure.
Where can people find you guys on social media?
So on Instagram, it's Treasure Planning. And then on Facebook, it's Trivative Planning Consultants.
We're gonna put it on the bottom.
On the bottom there.
Yes. So, but definitely follow us on Instagram. It's great.
So we want to welcome you guys back multiple times.
Absolutely,
Love it.
absolutely. Would love to. And thank you for having us. It's been a Great conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for the people at home, please follow us on social media. We have YouTube, Vimeo, Instagram, LinkedIn. We got the basics covered. And reach out to us, engage with us. If you want to be part of this podcast too, please also contact us, reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to put you in and have a conversation with us. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you next week.
See you next week.